Hello my friends, welcome back to a brand new behind the scenes compilation. Gonna have to do this in a kind of wildlife style because I didn't have a very good weekend the other weekend, but we were at Chalke Valley History Festival, so many thanks to the team at Chalke Valley History Festival for having us, and we were fortunate enough to also get a tip off related to all of the medieval living history actors taking place at the event to actually line up against the sign they had this year. And some of the BTS footage you'll be surprised to hear is actually shot on an iPhone 15. So that's exciting, that's great, that's wonderful. And thank you to my Elhaf for shooting said BTS footage as well. They had the black horse that walked in front of the sign. The goal, from my understanding, of Chalke History Festival takes place in Broad Chalke Valley, a place with no signal at all, is to showcase, highlight, and bring, I think, passionate historians together. People giving talks, people who obviously dress up and perform as such. From different elements of history. It's been running for many years, and we've been kind enough to be able to be invited down last year and also back this year as well as a member of the press pool. So that was hooray. And for those who are interested, I will link the main video in the description down below. Most of this video is shot on two lenses mostly, the Sigma 18-35 and the Sigma 150-600mm with a 2x extender. And like I do with most of my events, I try to establish the scene, just document and showcase people coming, people going. So I was showing at the start of this event that people needed to have tickets, obviously a ticketed event, but also showing the scale, the number of people that were queuing up to come to the Chalke Valley History Festival. I think it was around, the estimations we got on the Saturday that we were down filming, was around 4,000 to 6,000 people or so. But something I really wanted to try is really work on capturing a sequence to tell a story. Now obviously in these behind the scenes videos I show you the raw sequences, I show you those completely raw sequences that I sometimes did use, sometimes didn't use, a little bit bad lighting in cases as well, so some of them didn't actually make the cut. This lady, lovely, doing some chiseling, leading on to a live podcast recording that was at 10 a.m. and this is when I decided to shoot on the tripod. And whenever I did this, I tried to get what I call a one shot of each person who was talking. Random helicopter just decided to appear, and then a wide a little bit later on to show that they were talking on a panel all about history. Fun fact, red kites fly over the valley, so we've got here. Didn't actually end up making the edit, but this is one of the benefits of me shooting wildlife. It allows me to kind of be better suited, ready to capture those birds or other birds that are going on, or maybe more likely to see them. Something that I try to do as well is gather what I call insert shots, so you'll see it in a couple of minutes as well. There was a plane that was flying over as well, that was going over across the afternoon. There was two of them, really, the Spitfire and a Harrier, and then towards the end, after we had left, they had also flew over together, and the job of that was just to add a little bit more dynamic element. But I nearly missed it, but it's one of those reaction time things where if you can hear it and you just shoot up. I was debating, like, do I want to shoot that at like a really high mil range? Ended up shooting it at 35, and I actually ended up preferring those shots. So the same with these horsey shots as well. Slight critique. I personally think the jousting was better last year. This was really nice to see though. Got some of these guys walking behind me, so I tried to get a couple of variations of what was going on in the horse arena. I tried to get a couple of variations of obviously the skill that these riders have and show that level of depth as well, because I'm only shooting on the 18-35 here, and I wanted to showcase the kind of twisting around, but also show off some of the hats, grand hats that these horse riders were wearing. And unfortunately placed toilets there, but there we are. Here's the plane, as I said before, and something that I just got from reaction time. So now I wanted to add in some of the more kind of semi-little community events that were taking place. So your archeries, your sword fighting, and here's a little sequence where a pheasant gets shot. But it's just to show the kind of interactions and the stuff that the kids and the family members can also partake in. showing scale here, showing the large crews, a large amount of people that was going. And then we moved on to filming a lot of the kind of sword fighting, that kind of thing. I shot this sequence mostly through the EVF, simply because it was very, very hard to see because of the reality which was taking place in regards to this. There was a lot of sun, and it makes it very hard to share or look through the LCD screen. But the benefit of shooting on a GH5, which is what I was on the day, and is my main shooter still at the moment, that may be changing in the future, but at the moment it's still my main shooter, is obviously being able to shoot through that electronic viewfinder. And something I tried to do here was move from the side to show the action, where these guys were using daggers, swords, polearms and little shields that you can see here, fighting to show as if I was a member of the audience. But then I also, of course, wanted to showcase the actual audience that was there, to show how busy it was and to give some festival context. So I went round to the opposite side. Now, for safety reasons, they had these beautiful ropes around the kind of area, but they did kind of become a bit of an eyesore and a bit of a pain in the arse when it came to capturing shots like this. So something that I would recommend is A, shoot on a tighter aperture, B, try to just kind of work out where those people are going to stand and try and stand in such a way where they're going to come into your frame, but also of course be aware of health and safety. But remember, you're there to do a job. So the same with these trucks. I was aware that they were going to drive in a straight line. I was trying to talk to the stewards that were moving them around, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure I'm in the right place at the right time. Now, a mistake I made here is actually I should have been the opposite side of these guys. I wouldn't be able to get this shot, but I would have been able to get some better lighting on the other shots. But then, kindly to my production assistant on the day, which is my partner and photographer, and she was just helping out on the day as well, so many thanks to her. She had carried down my big heavy lens on the tripod to be towards the event arena, so I was able to mix up the artillery cannons being fired with a couple of shots like this, for example, because I noticed when I shot it last year, I really struggled at getting some of the nuanced details, and I also wanted a detailed shot of the actual cannon being fired specifically that you'll see later. And it was one of those balances, and I actually was, I think, a little bit too close. Ironically, I could have actually shot natively with the 150 to 600 rather than shooting on the teleextender, but the problem was, because I was swapping between the Sigma 18 to 35 and taking the camera off the tripod, leaving the lens rigged to the tripod, it meant I couldn't actually, because of the way it was rigged, I couldn't take the camera off if we were shooting natively, because I could have done with a little bit less, around a little bit less focal range, but I still made it work. So I shot, I think, around 300mm for a lot of the shots you're seeing at the moment. And because of how unpredictable to an extent the artillery cannons were, I made sure to balance as much mix in footage regarding focal length as possible, and also frame rates, and as you can see here, a lot of the stuff when I knew they were going to be firing off was going to be done in slow motion, and then I did most of the other stuff when I was tracking around 24, so I tried to keep it at 24, but it was a really challenging sequence because of how fast paced it was and how unpredictable to an extent it was. And some of the time they only fired off one gun, other times they only fired off a couple of or three of them. And what you really want with an event like this is you want to get the three of them to fire off at once, right, in the wide, but then also get a tight of them shooting the cannon and readjusting the cannon, these bits you can see here, on the timer. But the problem is the time obviously changes as I switch lenses, so that's why I rigged it in the way I did, so I could actually do that. Otherwise I would have to take the lens off the tripod, then unscrew the base plate and the rail plate, then put my new lens on, get the shot, then re-screw them back on and go from there. So one of the things that I think really emphasizes the power or the sound of these guns is by shooting in slow motion. You could have shot it in normal speed, but it would have ended quite quickly. So I think it's one of those things where you need to look and you need to think, okay, how is this going to cut together as a sequence? How am I going to be able to tell a story with this footage? So what I really like here is the little details you can see with the guys taking out the old, like making sure that the old cartridges come out, and then they actually end up putting a new cartridge in. I did cut it down because I still wanted to show you the slow-mo amount of smoke for all three being fired off at the same time, but it does show a large amount of scale. It shows the fact that, you know, they are full apart, but also that focal range will give you those more details. So we can see these guys standing to command to say, you know, that they really enjoy what they do. So as far as I'm aware, most of the people on site who do living historian stuff, they don't necessarily make money from it. They do it because they're passionate about it in that respect. That's my understanding. Moving on, we got some medieval dancing. We got some more people showcasing how, you know, some guns work, for example, giving our friends here at the festival an opportunity to take those guns and sort of feel how they work. And we also were able to capture some of the talks that were going on. And the job with talks, I like to basically show off kind of a two-shot to show who the two people are talking, maybe a little bit of the audience, followed by a one-shot of each person, followed by another one-shot of each person. We have someone quite famous coming up as well. There was also, of course, live music that took place and other kind of stories that were going on. So I wanted to make sure that I could highlight that and show really these to build atmosphere and also break up the semi-more boring talks that could be used and are used in, here we are, with Mr. Famous, with Mr. James May. Because 95% of the time you don't really necessarily want to, for editorial reasons, but also just cutting related reasons, use the audio from the talk. So you mostly just want to say and show a quick clip or etc. to show, hey look, this person was here, they did the thing, great, fantastic. So again, I did the same with James, got one or two positions of him talking, and the same with James, the other James. It was James and James talking, and they then showing the two shots, so showing James May actually talking to someone about cars, I think it was in this case. In most cases, these celebs were there to promote their books or their equivalent, and to showcase it. And from my understanding at least, the festival looks to bring these people in because they'll obviously sell tickets because they're well-known names, and it's great for marketing and etc. as well. But really fortunately, I was able to obviously use that tele extender to really push in and get that two-shot and also that mid shot of the speakers from the back of the room, and this is also from the side of the room as well, because I wanted to mix up that angle. I actually prefer the side angle, and I didn't know whether I'd want it, but I wanted to show some audience kind of listening, development, laughter perhaps, etc., those kind of things. And then we ended up with the Chalke Valley sign. So thank you ever so much for joining me once again. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of the Chalke Valley History Festival footage. Hopefully we'll be back next year. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.